Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of Sean's Movie Crusades. My name is Sean Wasserkrug, and today we're going to be reviewing the third film of the long-awaited trilogy, Bill and Ted Face the Music. Now, for many people, at least my age, you guys grew up with Bill and Ted. The first film came out in 1989. The sequel, Bogus Journey, came out in 1991, and it's been 29 years since we've got Face the Music. For me, Bill and Ted, I thought they were fine films. I didn't love them. I didn't hate them. They just were kind of there. But obviously, we all love Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves, ever since Matrix, or even Speed, I would say, his whole career, we all love Keanu. And then this was the starting point for Keanu, was Bill and Ted. Because after that, he got Point Break, Speed, Matrix, John Wick's, all this stuff. And for him to go back to something where he kind of really first started as Ted, it was kind of fun, because this isn't him trying to go out there and do anything huge. This isn't him trying to go out there and do a big action flick. This is basically him going back to the people that helped him become who he is. They're all really close friends. Him and Bill, played by Alex Winter, and the two writers, say their names here, Chris Matherson and Ed Solomon. All four of these guys, they've all worked together for all three movies, and they've been trying to do this third film for, I think, over a decade now. But obviously, with Keanu's rise to like superstardom, it's been harder and harder for them to get ready to do it. But to get these guys together again for a third film was kind of, magic in a sense. And having these guys all together, you could tell that they're having fun. You could tell that these guys enjoy being around each other, because neither one of these two, Bill or Ted, Alex Winter or Keanu, they didn't have to come back for this. They could have just done the story with the daughters and went from there. But these guys wanted to come back and reprise these roles as Bill and Ted. So let's go ahead and jump into the review and see exactly what I thought of Bill and Ted Face the Music. Bill and Ted, the main plot for Bill and Ted is we're in present day, I believe is what they said. And Bill and Ted still have not written the song that's going to unite the world. They thought they did at the end of Bill and Ted 2, Bogus Journey, but that did not quite work. And since then, they just they fell out of rock stardom. No one really cares about them anymore. No one really likes them anymore. And their family, including the princesses, their wives, this time played by Aaron Hayes and Jamin Mays, are also just kind of sick of it. They're just kind of over the whole, this is our destiny, this is our journey to write this song, and Bill and Ted just aren't getting it. And because of that, their world's kind of coming to a point in the road where they have to decide, do they keep trying or do they finally stop? And when they decide to finally stop, that's when Kristen Shaw's Kelly from the future comes in and says, you guys have 77 minutes to write this song that's going to unite the world, or the world's time is going to collapse in on itself, because people are disappearing out of time and are showing up different places. Like Babe Ruth disappears from his infinite points the bat at the fence moment and ends up on George Washington's boat. People are popping in and out of time, and they now have 77 minutes, which is basically the exact time remaining left in the movie. So it's kind of going like in 24, like real time, to figure out this song and save the world. And of course, they also have two daughters in this film. You got Thea, played by Samara Weavy, and you got Billy, played by Bridget Lundy Payne. And they decide to help their dads, and they decide to go on their own excellent journey to go back in time to find the greatest musicians to put in an all-star band together to basically help their dads play the song that will change the world. While Bill and Ted, being the lazy kind of, unable to be charismatic, or not charismatic, creative on their own, decide, let's jump into the future and steal the song from our future selves. So basically, let's get the answer sheet and not actually do the studying or the homework. So those are kind of the two main storylines. You got Thea and Billy going back in time to find, people like Jimi Hendrix, Louis Armstrong, Mozart, like finding those kinds of characters, kind of like what Bill and Ted did in Excellent Adventure. And then you got Bill and Ted going into the future in multiple times, finding their future selves to try and steal the song so that way they can come back in time and do it. And those are the two main storylines. And then, of course, there's a subplot storyline with the princesses who go on their own journey with their future selves to try to find a life in which they are happy with Bill and Ted. Which in turn makes more of a focus for Bill and Ted to try to find the song in time so that way they can prove that that their love is strong for the princesses. And that's the main plot of Bill and Ted Face the Music. In terms of performances, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, they have not missed a beat playing Bill and Ted. They are both just comfortably right back into their roles as Bill and Ted, and they don't miss a beat. Their jokes still land. They're definitely their chemistry with each other works amazing, just like we all knew they would. And every time they're on screen, it just feels like home when it comes for Bill and Ted. And it's fun to have them around and watch each other. Here's the problem with the Bill and Ted storyline. It's boring. Them going in and seeing their future selves and again and again and again, it's the weakest parts of the film in my eyes. It's just we don't care. I just didn't care about them talking to their future selves because it's just basically them acting against themselves. Weird antics happen, and then they jump ahead. Weird antics happen, they jump ahead. Weird antics happen, and then they jump ahead. And that's the only story for Bill and Ted. The real good storyline is following Thea and Billy as they are going through the past, kind of like in the first Bill and Ted, and they're meeting these great musicians, such as, like I said, Jimi Hendrix, Louis Armstrong, Mozart, and a few others. And their storyline is what really makes the movie decent. Bridget Lundy Payne is literally doing her best spot on Keanu Reeves's Ted impression. The best way I could describe Samara Weaving and Bridget Lundy Payne's performances of Billy and Thea, because they're literally doing a carbon copy of Bill and Ted for the most part, is kind of like when Dumb and Dumber When Harry Met Lloyd happened, and you had Harry played by I can't remember who, and then you had Eric Christian Olsen play Lloyd, and Eric Christian Olsen put a spot on Jim Carrey performance in that film, and that's what everyone remembers is he did a phenomenal Jim Carrey performance as Lloyd, and that's the only good thing about that movie. With this, Bridget Lundy Payne is putting on the best Keanu Reeves performance as Ted that I've ever seen, and she knocks it out of the park. Samara Weaving as Thea, she's there, she's fine, but I don't think she's given enough meat than Bridget Lundy Payne is doing, and Billy is just outshining Thea in every scene that she's in. It's not that Samara Weaving's having a bad time. It's not like she's not doing a good job. It's just that she's just not up to par with what Bridget Lundy Payne is doing with Billy. But their story is the story that really, to me, when I was watching the movie, their story is what made me enjoy the movie. Bill and Ted's, I was kind of just like, let's move on to the next thing, please. Another standout character in this is Dennis Caleb McCoy. He plays a robot. I'm not going to say what this robot's supposed to do, but he plays a robot, and he's played by Anthony Carrigan. Many people will know him from Barry, who he's awesome on Barry. He also was on Gotham. I think he played Zaz. This guy is amazing. I love this actor, and his character of Dennis Caleb McCoy killed me. Every time Dennis Caleb McCoy was on screen, I was laughing my butt off, and he was a highlight from the film. He does not like I was gonna say they overused them, and they kind of did in one scene, but he's just so damn funny that you just wanted Dennis around all the time. And it's one of those things where he gradually just gets better and better and better as the movie goes on. Christian Shaw's Kelly is fine. We get William Sadler back as Death, and Death is, we all love Death from Bogus Journey, and Death does a solid job this time out because Ted and Bill are estranged. They do have one really, really long scene in where they all kind of reunite, but it's one of those scenes where this should have happened earlier in the film and not in the third act, because in the third act we're kind of like, let's go, and we're really slowing down on this one scene where it was a very important scene, and it was a scene that needed to happen, but it should have happened 20 minutes prior. And then, of course, we have some other actors in this. Hale Lyndon Jr. comes back as Chief Logan, Ted's dad. Beckett plays Deacon, Ted's little brother. Amy Stotch comes back as Missy, for anyone who remembers Missy from the first 2 films. And then Holland Taylor plays the Great Leader. Overall, when it comes to Bill and Ted Face the Music, it feels like half a good movie and half a tired retread of the past. With Billy and Thea's storyline, I felt rejuvenated. I felt excited for the characters that we got to see. Like past musicians, like the guy who played Jimi Hendrix and Louis Armstrong, I really enjoyed. Let me find them here. Jimi Hendrix, Das Man Still played Jimi Hendrix, and Jeremiah Kraft played Louis Armstrong. I really liked both of them. There's a nice shout out to George Carlin as Rufus, which I really liked. But yeah, but when we got to the Bill and Ted stuff, it just, I love Bill and Ted. I love Alex Winter, and I love Keanu Reeves as Bill and Ted. Their movies are kind of but I like those 2 characters. But when they were on screen, it just felt tired. It felt like it just wasn't meshing well. When they're with Billy and Thea and the whole rest of the group at the end, which the end is very Bill and Ted, but it's also very rushed. And they also put in Kid Cudi, which the Kid Cudi part I could have really done without. But overall, it just felt like half a good movie and half a tired movie. And so because of that, Bill and Ted Face the Music works 50% of the time, maybe a little bit over 50% of the time. And so going to my overall recommendations, if you're a fan of Bill and Ted, you're going to check this out anyway because you have to. If you're not a fan of Bill and Ted, this is not going to make you want to watch this film. This is not going to make you like Bill and Ted. I'd say if you want to like Bill and Ted, watch the first couple films. So if you're a fan of Bill and Ted, check this movie out because you're kind of required to. If you're not a fan of Bill and Ted, you can pass this one by. You don't have to waste your time watching it. And that's overall what kind of comes down to whether or not I should recommend this movie to you or not. So going to my review score, like I said, it feels like a little bit over 50% of a film. So I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. I loved Dennis Caleb McCoy. I loved, Billy and Thea. I like Bill and Ted. It's just the Bill and Ted storyline, and then the princess's storyline that serves no purpose in the film. It just felt like added stuff on, and it never got fully fleshed out. There's a lot to like, but there's a lot to dislike, and overall, like I said, it feels like half a film. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys feel like this review is worth sharing, go ahead and hit that share button. But most importantly, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on Sean's Movie Crusades. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, I was going to check out what was it? You Can't Kill David Arquette. I think that's what it's called. It's a documentary about David Arquette getting into You Cannot Kill David Arquette. It's a documentary about David Arquette getting into professional wrestling. I'm interested in that. I don't know if you guys are interested in that, so I don't know if I'm going to do a review of that or not. But coming up this Friday, we've got Mulan and we've got Tenet. So be on the lookout for those reviews because those will be coming pretty quick. And until next time, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.